right, it's time to look at the preview for the next game because India will be taking on Australia. Of course, on Sunday, this happens at Indore. Zach, you are a master of reading pitches, speaking about pitches. That's your mastery, and I love chatting with you about it. But Indore is going to be as flat as it gets, and with a little assist, to the spinners.
Small ground, so that is something. The first thing which comes to my mind is Indore Stadium is not a very big outfield. So Mohali is relatively big. So that is something which raises that alarm right away. That if it's a good pitch to bat on, then you will see a very high scoring encounter, and the bowling will be tested. So keeping that in mind, looking at how Australia have gone on about doing their business with the ball in hand, I think they'll surely look at DK's version of it, of how he summed up the Australian bowling attack for today, the weakness in the bowling attack before the game started, and they'll have to rectify that. They'll have to maybe look at someone from the reserves, either Josh Hazlewood or Spencer Johnson, to find that answer, add that extra bit of pace. Because on smallish ground, on a good track, batters will feel that they have to take the bowlers on. So if you have the X factor in you with regard to pace or bounce, that can work in your favor. I think that's something which Australian team will look to change in the next one.
DK, you think with the Stark and Glenn Maxwell, who should be available for the next game, do you think Australia will go in with a team closer to what they're going to play in the World Cup? Because we've chatted about the bowling and what the weakness was.
Very much so. You have to say these two are very important players for them, and they will fit into the 11. Add Josh Hazlewood to the mix as well, and that will be pretty much the 11 that they would be going with. Their biggest decision would be who is going to open. After that will be obviously how they fit in a Marnus Labuschagne. If they fit in a Marnus Labuschagne, then you might have to leave a Stoinis out. That's the biggest one. It's interesting to see if Alex Carey comes back to don the gloves. That will be another question for them. But the most important part would be to get in that fast bowler who can make a difference, because in all likelihood, in most venues in India, I think it will be Zampa and Glenn Maxwell doing a bulk of the spin. And if they feel there's a dry wicket, maybe Ashton Agar will come into the picture. He's not part of this team, but in the World Cup, that's what they will look to do. But here, what they need to do is definitely give some match practice to Mitchell Starc. Yes, he has a couple of practice matches as well, but that is one area they'll be looking to do. Spencer Johnson is part of the 18, the additional 3 members who are part of the squad as well. So they might look to give him a game. And I don't see them going light on their bowling again, because this was a great case in point. And Zach was telling us that this pitch is not going to be easy, but the Indians did make it look easy, and not because the pitch was in any ways too easy to play shots on. It was just that the quality of the bowling were very dependent on medium pacers rather than fast bowlers, which makes a massive difference in the way you approach these innings.
Well, let's have a look at India's squad, and if I've been going on about this since we started the day, wanting to see Siraj, Bumrah and Shami in the 11, but do you think they'll all 3 make it maybe for the next game?
I think only in your fantasy 11 it's possible right now. For the Indian team right now, it could be a hard sell. But I do feel Bumrah will be given a rest, and Siraj will be given an opportunity here. And that in many ways is understandable. Other than that, the only change that they would like to see is Washington Sundar. But whose place will you bring him? Ashwin has just played the one game. Jadeja has not batted enough. So there's not many places to fill. So I do think there would just be one change. It would be probably Bumrah taking a break, and between Siraj and Prasidh, one of them could play. Most likely Siraj if he needs game time, or they could go to Prasidh as well. But I don't see any other changes other than that.
But you'll keep Shardul, Zach, for the next.
Well, I think with India's point of view, it depends. They've how they're looking at the preparation for the big one. They've won today, which gives them more flexibility now. If they want to bring in more changes, they can. And for the last game, anyways, you have the big guns coming back. So keeping all those things in mind, I think it will be pretty much on individual call basis. Like, if Bumrah needs a rest, if he needs more more bowling in the middle, then they will not take that route. Shami is someone I felt that they want him to play all the games here. Because for them also to get that kind of clarity before World Cup, for him also be in touch with game time, that is something will be talked about. Because clearly the first 2 bowlers when it comes to the big tournament is going to be Siraj and Bumrah. So if you already made up your mind on that, that leaves you with that one slot of Shardul to play around with right now. And Shami, if he's going to start the tournament on the bench, then this is the game time which they will utilize for him to be in top nick. So that's where Indian team stands. I think there will be a couple of changes, I feel, but if the individuals who they are looking at changing, if they want more time, the match time, then they will not go ahead with that kind of thought.
Also, the last time India played in Indore, an ODI, was between New Zealand and India, and when India scored close to 400 or upwards of 400, Rohit and Shubman, I think, got a double 100 if I'm right. I'm just speaking out of pure memory here. And interestingly, New Zealand were on course and on par in the chase. It was actually Shardul Thakur who picked up a couple of crucial wickets, which actually helped the game turn in India's tide. So that will also play a part. And I think this is not a pitch where you can play an extra spinner. If you want to play Washington instead of Shardul Thakur, this is not the ground to do it. I mean, in many ways, you're throwing, him to the wolves. So I feel that Shardul will play in this game. And just as what Zach said, I think if at all anything, it would be changed just in the one fast bowler department.
All right. So if you have to pick one player each who you're going to watch out for on the game on Sunday.
Player to watch out for from each team.
From each team.
I think from Australia, I will go ahead with Mitch Marsh. And from Indian team, I'll go with Bumrah.
For me, from Australia, I think David Warner will get going. And when it comes to India, I have a strong feeling Shubman Gill will have another good game.